This is Your Own Best Company, a podcast for people who love to work alone. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Your Own Best Company. I am Franklin Taggart, and this podcast was my idea. I am delighted today to welcome someone who you actually heard about before if you have tuned into the podcast, because two of my guests have mentioned Eli in their interviews. I was first introduced to who Eli is through my friend Meredith Grundy, and you're gonna hear something about how she's connected to a project that he is working on currently. And his husband Joseph Bennett was a recent guest on this show as well, and we talked about Eli as well. So Eli, here you are now in person.
Oh my gosh.
To speak for yourself.
Thank you. Well, thanks. And I'm glad to be here with you.
So Eli is a multi-passionate Renaissance man, having worked on his own for 35 years, reinventing his career several times in television, special events production, as a voiceover actor, interior designer, life and business coach, holistic cancer coach, and the latest iteration as the writer and performer of his mostly one-man show, Out of the Blue, a Miraculous Musical. In 2009, he and his husband, Joseph Bennett, exited the American rat race by moving to an artistic expat community in Mexico called San Miguel de Allende. 8 years ago, though, flourishing in their new lives, Eli was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive type of cancer. That's when everything changed. Having about a 10% chance of survival, Eli focused 100% of his energy on his successful recovery. Confronting his mortality helped him realign his goals, and for the past 6 years, he's been supporting others to discover their passions, to create meaningful work, using their natural abilities to make a difference in the world while making a great living at it. For the past year and a half, he's been developing his one-man show about his cancer healing journey, hoping to inspire others to tune into their intuitive guidance as they face challenges in their lives. Well, Eli, I don't think we need to talk. I think that
We're done. Have fun.
You've given me everything that I need to know just in that wonderful introduction. But I'm so delighted that you're my guest today, and I'd like to just actually kind of open it up to you to tell me where to start, because I have no idea. We could go so many places.
We could, and I'm happy to go there with you. Well, I'm just thinking of what conversation can we have that would serve your listeners best? What do they need to hear? What kinds of conversations have you been, sharing with them? Or maybe about what kinds of issues they might be dealing with that we might be able to address.
Well, it's always a good question. I think the things that I hear most frequently are things about balancing the need for solitude with the need for connection, and finding ways to grow their business or their project or their focus in a way that doesn't threaten, the important parts of their life. I don't know another way to say that, but those are the themes that seem to come up most frequently.
Oh, that's interesting. I have been striving for years and years. My goal has always been to achieve balance.
Yeah.
It's so important for me to not. That's why I said in the introduction we exited the rat race, because as much as I like to create and as much as I like to be in service, there is like an addiction to doing more, achieving more, getting a better house, getting a better car, wearing the right clothes, all those kinds of things. It's interesting because after being in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico now for about 12 years, when I go back to Mexico, coming to the States to visit, that cultural aspect becomes really apparent. And that's something we don't live with here in Mexico. The pace is very different. The focus is very different. So 12 years ago, we were in the middle of the rat race. And I was feeling like my soul was literally shriveling up like a raisin. We were doing good work. We were making good money. We had a successful interior design business. And I mean, Joseph and me. And things were on the outside looking great, but on the inside, I was dying. I was just not happy, even though I loved my work, but it was that pressure of achieving. And I remember I told Joseph one day, I said, there's got to be another reality. This can't be the way it is. We think it is because we're in it, and this is the United States, and this is kind of how it seems that everything is. But there's got to be another way to live where I need to feed my soul. I need to because I'm shriveling up. And I just said that, and we had no idea what was going to happen. And what happened was, and I'm not saying I caused this, but the crash came in 2008 when the economy tanked. I mean, am I that powerful of a manifester? I don't think so. But the economy tanked, and all of our clients literally canceled our projects. And I was like, whoa, okay, now what? And I said, I traveled through Mexico about 25 years ago with a friend, and there was this town, San Miguel de Allende. And I remember it being an artistic colony and very creative, and it's beautiful. I said, why don't we go there? Let's take a month and just kind of recharge. And then we'll see what happens. So we came here for 1 month. I was writing screenplays at the time, just for fun. And while being here, everything unfolded so beautifully for us. We got 3 design jobs while we were here. We stayed 5 months to finish them. We went back home. There was still no work. So we thought, well, let's just go back and see what happens. So we came for a year. And that was it. We went back home, sold both of our houses that we had, and put whatever fit in our one car, a Toyota RAV4, our 2 dogs, and whatever fit in the car. And
that's great.
we went on this adventure to Mexico. And it's been incredible. It's an expat community, meaning that there's a lot of retired Americans and Canadians and Europeans, and a lot of people here are artists or writers or directors and actors. And it's just, creatively just flourishing. So it's been 12 years. Yeah. And we continued to work in interior design, but it didn't feel like a rat race, because here everything feels balanced. Like people close their businesses from 2 to 4.
Yeah.
To go home and have lunch with their families and take a siesta. And at first I was like, are they crazy? Don't they know that I have to buy a cushion? How dare they close the store? And now we love it. We take our naps in the afternoon, we relax. Yeah. Things get done without having to have that kind of pressure.
Now, in Joseph's interview with me, we talked at some length about your retreats that you all offer at your home. So I don't know that we need to revisit that, but every time that I hear about it, it just sounds more and more appealing.
Yeah, well, we lucked out and found this beautiful house, a beautiful property for like a fraction of what you would pay in California for it.
Yeah.
And it's a 5,000 square foot house, and it has all these rooms we don't use. So we ended up renting them out as Airbnb spaces. It's called San Miguel Retreats. But after my cancer experience, which I can talk about in a little while, I had cancer 8 years ago, and I recovered, and I learned so much about healing. I told Joseph, I really want to use this space for people to come and recover from whatever, lose weight, get healthy, just have a retreat where they can just disconnect from the rat race, maybe take some cooking lessons, and, just being here, the energy of this town and this house is just so restorative. And that's kind of what it became. And we did that for a while. And then COVID came. So we had to shut down. But then again, being a creative person, when COVID hit, after the first few months of, what's going on and how long is this going to last, we decided, both of us, okay, if we're going to be home a lot, how can we use this time to create something wonderful instead of just letting this take us down? And everything changed for both of us. The last 2 years have been incredible creatively.
It sounds like it. I mean, we'll be talking more about the play here in a little bit, but it just sounds like to me that both of you have been on a roll. I know Joseph has written, he did his art book, and now he's getting ready to publish 2 other books in the coming times. And it's like he's just, and he started the podcast with Meredith a year ago, and it's like the two of you together have like created your own economy, basically.
Yeah, well, when you're down, I remember, this might inspire some of your listeners. When I've been working on my own for a long time, 35 years, and I learned that there are cycles in the business that are natural. The first few downturns really freaked me out, but I learned during the downtime, instead of trying to resist it or push against it, use the downtime to create something for when you build again, you're ready for it. So I learned to save some money for when the downtime came. And then when the downtime came, I did a lot of research and built new things. And then all of a sudden, boom, it just magically would gear up again. It's just the nature of things. There's cycles that happen. So this has been a major downtime with COVID.
Yeah.
And, at first we kind of, we're both life coaches and we teach different kinds of personal growth workshops. And so at first we felt really the call to step up and support our community so that they weren't like freaking out, like we all were freaking out about COVID. So we started doing like a weekly, I think we called it Corona Coffee Talk, where we would have different guests on Zoom that would help people how to deal with grief, with loss, with everything that was going on. But we used this time to create, and both of us really dove into writing. We found that writing was incredibly healing.
Yeah.
I've been doing journaling for a long, long time, but I wrote the show. Joseph is writing his books, and we're so excited about writing that we're actually creating a writer's retreat later in April, if COVID allows.
Yeah.
To kind of experience this healing aspect of what writing can be. So, yeah, we're gearing up to do that.
Sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the midst of all of these different, challenges of life, you found yourself diagnosed with cancer, and I'm curious, what were you up to at that time when you found out about the diagnosis, and how was your life affected and changed by that?
Well, that's a good question, Franklin. As much as I loved and we loved doing interior design, our business got to a point where it was almost taking over our lives, like large projects we just couldn't say no to because they were so creatively great and the money was great. And so at that time, we got a very large interior design project back in San Diego that we had to go fly back and forth, and it became the rat race again. All of a sudden, bam, I was just right back in it. It was very stressful and a lot of deadlines and a lot of things. And through that, I started feeling this pain in my stomach, like, oh God, maybe, as being a Jewish guy, I was like, yay, my first ulcer. I was like, my first ulcer. Everyone gets an ulcer in the Jewish community. And it just wouldn't go away. And the pain was getting worse. And I finished the project and it was successful and it was great. And I came home back to San Miguel, and literally like 2 weeks after being home, it just felt like I had an arrow shooting from my stomach through my shoulder. And I was like, there is something wrong. Like, what is going on? So without telling you all of the details, yeah, it turned out to be a very rare and aggressive kind of lymphoma. I had a tumor in my spleen and the entire inside of my stomach. And I had about a 10% chance of making it.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of this wonderful life that we had created. So I don't want to blame it on work, but I have to say that now that I've been through all of this, stress is a huge contributor to cancer.
Yeah.
So I kind of let things get out of hand. And then I was forced to slow down.
Yeah.
And everything changed. You know, when you're confronting your mortality like that, I was 54.
Yeah.
Confronting, oh my God, I could die from this. And the thing that happened for me is not that I was scared of dying. This might sound kind of strange. I get emotional when I think about it. I was scared of dying without having made a difference that mattered.
Yeah.
And I think people in my life would say, well, you do make a difference, but not the kind of difference I want to make. I felt really clear that the reason why we are here is to make a difference. All of us matter. All of us matter.
Oh, yeah.
And we can only bring to this world what we can bring, and the world is waiting for it. And if we live small lives, then we're cheating our purpose for being here. You know, I got really clear about it when I was confronting my mortality. And then I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do then to make a difference in the world? Because that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea what that's going to look like. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but as much as I love interior design, how many people am I helping? Typically 2.
Yeah.
And they're worth it.
Yeah.
But I'm here to do bigger things, is what I told myself.
Yeah.
So, oddly enough, as the universe is, because it's amazing, when you get clear about what you want in your life, the universe does start shifting and bringing you what you want.
Oh, yeah.
And after the whole chemo ordeal, which was very difficult, and I was declared in remission, I decided, what do I really want to do? And I said, I want to be like a trainer in motivational workshops that helps to change people's lives, you know? I want to be that guy that's in a room that through something I do or processes I create, people shift and people get it. So I was like, I had no idea how that was going to happen. I just knew that was a passion I had had for years, because I'd been going to personal growth workshops my entire life since I was 19.
Yeah.
And I was always looking at the trainers going, like, how did they get there? How did they do that?
I went through a similar life-threatening situation when I was in my mid-40s, and it was like a turning point where I had to really look at life differently from then on. And I had a very similar awakening to, you know, there has to be more to live for here than writing a song or than doing this. And it was real eye-opening for me to say, I do want to make a difference. And it's just interesting that you're using almost this exact same language that I've used.
Well, you know something? First of all, let me just say, let's all pray and know that you don't have to have a horrible disease confronting your death in order to make this shift, okay?
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. It happens to a lot of people, but we're not saying go get a disease so you can change your life. Yeah. Hopefully we can avoid that in life, right? But honestly, in the state of the world, with the state of the world, there is nothing that I can think of that is more important than doing something that makes a difference in the world. Yeah. Through using our natural skills and abilities and our natural gifts that God gave us.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, honestly, That's why we're here. And it's like, I know a lot of people say, well, I don't know what my purpose in life is. You know, why am I here? What am I here? And they're all so confused about it. And I'm thinking, well, it's clear why you're here.
Yeah.
You're here to fully express who you are, to make a difference in the world somehow, in
Yeah.
your own way. That's it. Just keep breathing
Yeah.
and doing that. And I got really, really clear through my experience with cancer that that's really what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So it was a big kick in the butt to get me right back on the path that I was meant to be on, that my self-doubt and my constant questioning and doubting, who am I? Oh, I'm not good enough. Or who am I to do that? Those questions took me right off the path.
Yeah.
Invisibly, because, you know, those kinds of questions are usually invisible. We're not aware that we're thinking them. And all of a sudden, why am I here? Why am I almost dying? Or why am I in this job I hate?
Yeah.
Because we haven't been honoring the true voice inside us.
Very true.
So when I got clear, back to the story, see how I segued there?
Yeah.
When I got clear that what I wanted to do was make that kind of difference, I went to a place in San Diego to detox from the chemo. It's called the Optimum Health Institute. And I was loving it. And I was taking, take all kinds of classes and stuff. And I was taking a class, and there was not a ton of people that week. There were a lot of empty chairs. But this woman came and sat right next to me instead of sitting anywhere else. And we immediately hit it off. We really got along. We were laughing, and we were being like the bad kids in class, like interrupting the teacher and stuff like that. And at the end, she says, "So, Eli, what are you passionate about these days?" And I said, "Well, funny you should ask, because, I really am very clear that I want to lead like motivational workshops that help people shift their lives." And she said, "Well, you're an incredible manifester. Do you know who I am?" I said, "I have no freaking idea who you are." And she said, "My name is Janet Bray Atwood, and I travel all over the world, and I train people to become leaders." And I was like, oh. So we invited her to come to San Miguel to do a training. I loved the training.
Yeah.
And the training was something about discover your passions through a tool she developed called the passion test. I loved it. I went on to follow her trainings and became a facilitator of that process. And that was the door that opened.
Yeah.
And ever since then, Joseph and I together have been developing workshops, trainings, helping people discover their passions, because passions are kind of clues to their life purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been doing for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
And then a year and a half ago, after doing this for a while, I also became a cancer coach, because I really wanted to help people navigate through the overwhelm and the confusion of their cancer journeys.
Yeah.
I had learned so much through mine. I thought, well, I can't just keep what I learned to myself. I have to somehow help people. But after doing that for a couple of years, a year and a half ago, I turned 60.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I turned 60. I never thought I was going to see 60. That's great. And at the same time, I thought, oh shit, I'm 60. It's like, what do I regret not doing? Is there anything? And I said, yeah, I always dreamed of like being on Broadway. I always wanted to be, I've been an actor most of my life, and I just always wanted to be on Broadway.
Yeah.
So I started writing my story of my healing journey. And I had no idea it was going to become a musical. And it clearly needed to be a musical. And it became a musical, and it's called Out of the Blue, a Miraculous Musical. And it's about all the miracles that happened in my healing journey. And it's been the most incredible, encompassing, creative project ever of my life. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it opens this March. I'm kind of
Yeah,
freaking out.
that is so exciting. Are
Hmm.
you now in your description of it? You say it's an almost one man musical.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I'm curious where the almost comes in.
Well, I call it a mostly one man show
Okay.
because I played 25 characters in it, but it really is about, although it is about my cancer journey, my healing journey had a lot to do with realizing that I needed to heal certain aspects of my past, that those emotions had been kind of festering. And in some odd way, I know this is going to sound very strange to hear, but in some odd way, those unresolved emotions, I feel, ended up kind of showing up as cancer in my life.
Interesting.
And I felt that in order to really heal, it was going to take more than chemo and all the diet and all the supplements that I was doing. It needed my healing of parts of my past, which had to do with growing up as a gay kid in a conservative world,
Yeah.
feeling there was something wrong with me, there was something broken in me. Um, I came out in the mid '80s during the birth of the AIDS crisis, so navigating through all that and managing to stay alive, and then finding the love of my life who committed suicide because he had cancer. I mean, there are
Yeah.
all these things, and then finally, I find love, the
Yeah.
love of my life, Joseph. And that's when I say mostly one man show, because in the third act, Joseph, who's also an actor, shows up in my play. And we recreate the moment where we met, which was very miraculous,
Yeah.
and how he helped me cope with my experience of cancer, because he was like a rock in helping me get through that. So loving and so supportive. So he's in the third act, and then I won't tell you how it ends, but it obviously ends well because I'm still here.
Here you are. Yeah. I'm really curious. I mean, you've hinted at some of the important things that you've learned about healing, but I'd really like you to expound on that a little bit more and talk to us about what were the most important lessons that you learned about healing through your journey.
We're talking about healing cancer.
You can go even more general than that. I
Yeah, because
mean,
cancer really is, from my perspective, and please, everyone out there listening, know that this is just my perspective.
yeah,
I do believe that cancer is a symptom of an imbalance that shows up in our life. So I took a very holistic approach, meaning that um, I don't think that cancer is something that you just get or that you catch, but it's some sign of an imbalance. So it's a multifactorial result. So I had to really take a look at what could have possibly contributed to this. So it was an all-encompassing approach of looking at lifestyle,
yeah,
meaning stressors in our life, the environment that I'm in, any chemicals or poisonous things around me, my diet, my relationships, anything toxic in my world, meaning
yeah,
relationships, just getting rid of all that and healing all that. That was really, really, really beautiful. It was a beautiful process of self-discovery.
yeah,
And I knew that in order to really heal, I had to really achieve that balance. So I changed my diet drastically. I already ate well, I thought, but I really fine-tuned it to a plant-based diet mainly.
yeah,
I do eat salmon and eggs. And it had the emotional component of healing all these things that I'm talking about in my past and coming to terms with letting go of shame and loving myself and accepting who I am.
yeah,
And it had to do with other physical things that we just mentioned, supplements and the environment. And spiritually, that was a huge, huge, huge component, is really learning to trust my intuition.
yeah,
Because a lot of us, when we are in a panic state like cancer or anything, we've been conditioned in our culture to look outside for answers. A doctor will tell me what to do.
yeah,
Somebody will tell me what to do. Google will tell me what to do. But when you find information outside of yourself, it's all confusing because it's all contradictory.
Yeah.
You find points of view of every point of view. And who knows better than you what you need. So I spent a lot of time connecting to my intuition. Like, can I really trust it? Because a lot of times my intuition, and that's really what my show is about a lot, it's learning to trust the voice you hear inside yourself, even if what's outside of you is different. There's an aspect of us that knows what we need.
Yeah.
So learning to hear that first. What's the difference between intuition and the brain chatter going on? Because they're very different. And then learning to trust that when it comes from inside, from your gut, that's the voice you listen to, not the one in your brain.
Yeah.
I really believe, and I've been very clear, that the one in your brain tends to create a lot of confusion and a lot of fear. But if it's in your heart and if it's in your gut and they're both connected, then the answers feel calm and peaceful.
Yeah.
And that's the voice to listen to.
Wow. That's awesome. I'm curious. You said that the show is going to be coming out in March.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it only going to be available in Mexico, or is it going to be something where people would be able to watch and participate online?
Thank you. Yes. I'm calling it the world premiere because it is the world premiere. Nobody's ever seen it. I love the sound of the world premiere of Out of the Blue, a Miraculous Musical. It's happening here because this is a wonderful theater community. There's a wonderful theater here. There's a lot of English-speaking people, and it will be definitely videoed with a professional video crew, and that video later in April will be available for streaming. So, because a lot of people in my life don't live here and they want to see it. So I'm going to do the best I can with creating a really high quality video of the production, and that's what will be streamed at some point so people can see it. Of course, there's nothing like live theater. But if people can't make it. And the other thing is people are saying, well, are you really doing this during COVID? Well, it kind of depends what's happening in March.
Yeah.
The theater that I'm doing it in seats 90 people, but we're only selling 60% of the seats, so 55 seats.
Yeah.
And there's two together, one empty, two together, one empty. The whole front row is empty, and everyone's being asked to have proof of vaccination and wearing a mask. So, all those protocols are in place to have people have some peace of mind about it.
Good.
But and if for some reason I have to postpone the show, the video will still happen. I'm still going to record the video production.
That's so exciting. Now,
it is.
You've enlisted Meredith's help. Tell us about her role here.
Meredith, some of you may have heard her on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And she's a friend of yours. And Meredith is wonderful. She lives in New York, and she's my director.
Yeah.
So she's also Joseph's partner in their podcast. And so she's been incredible, such a wonderful, wonderful help. This is a very, as you can imagine, it's a very intimate project. It's a very, there's a lot of personal stuff that I'm needing to share for the first time to public. I mean, a lot of my friends don't even know about the stuff I'm going to talk about on stage. So it takes a huge amount of courage to do that. And she's been really great at helping me decide, yes, this stays, this doesn't stay. And then now that the script is done, which is great, and I'm in the process of memorizing 90 minutes of like a big, huge monologue, playing 25 characters. She's helping me define the characters and how to move on stage. And we're going to talk about lighting and all those things. So she came here for a week already to work on the major things. She went back, and then she'll be back 2 or 3 weeks before the opening to really gear up. And we are meeting twice a week on Zoom to talk about all the things we need to talk about.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we have so much to look forward to, Eli, and I'm excited myself to see the play. and
Thanks.
to experience the story that much more personally.
Well, maybe you'll even get on a plane and come down here and see it in person.
That would be a dream. So
That'd be great.
dreams do come true, and I'm hoping that that's going to happen at some point.
Dreams do come true. That's for sure.
I'd like to end our time together by asking people if they would like to get in touch with you. How would you like them to do that?
Oh, that's nice. I would love to hear from them. You could go to outoftheblueshow.com. That's the website, and you can see all kinds of what the show's about, images. And there's also a place there, like a contact form, where they can share their name and email so I can send updates. Joseph has been documenting the whole process for the last year. So we have these really fun, short little videos of everything in between angst and excitement. So we're sharing that periodically, like once a week. I send a little video to people so they can kind of anticipate the show. Excellent. That would be really great. And if anybody out there is also needing some support in getting in touch with what they're passionate about and what their life purpose can be, I'm happy to offer them doing the passion test, which is the process that I did that helped me get clear.
Yeah.
So should I offer them a way to get in touch with about that?
Oh, absolutely.
So Joseph and I have a website called sublimeguys.com. And I believe it's sublimeguys.com/thepassiontest.
Okay.
And that's how they can find some information about that.
Excellent.
Happy to help.
Well, Eli, our time has rapidly come to an end.
That was fast, and I did all the talking.
Well, that's quite all right. You were supposed to. I'm only here to kind of hold the space.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
This has been really lovely, and I just my heart is full, and I'm inspired by your story and by your spirit, and I just thank you so much for being my guest today.
Oh my gosh, the pleasure is mine. Thank you really so much. And I love the quality and tone of your voice. It's so calming. You should be here when I can't sleep so you can just tell me a little story so I can calm down.
Tell me the story you want and I'll make some audios for you.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. I really appreciate our conversation.
All right, very good. Eli Hans, everyone, outoftheblueshow.com is where you can find out more about the mostly one-man show. Just keep in mind of all the other things that Eli is up to. And we'll have links for you in the description for where you can get in touch with him. Thank you again, Eli.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Your Own Best Company. If you enjoyed the show, would you do me a favor and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast host? If you really love it, leave me a review or share it with your circles. If you feel like your career is reaching a dead end, or you're feeling a deep sense of dissatisfaction in your work right now, I help people discover their gifts and then find or create new opportunities that are the best fit for their talent, experience, and lifestyle. Email me at coaching@franklintaggart.com for more information. I also help people start, finish, and launch creative projects, and I offer an ongoing marketing mastermind for solopreneurs and freelancers. More information on these programs and services can be found at franklintaggart.com. Thanks again for spending this time with me.